Come along as I take you with me to build my dream project, a large bioactive Tegu Terrarium. This detailed European guide can be scaled up or down to accommodate any reptile species, so let your imagination run wild and enjoy the build. I certainly did. In part 4, we're gonna breathe life into the terrarium and make it bioactive. Because of the sheer size of the terrarium, it will also function as a centerpiece in the room it's sitting in and will inevitably attract all eyes on it. That's why it also has to integrate well into the room with the rest of the furniture and the other elements. And that is precisely why I will be encasing the whole terrarium in wooden paneling. And I found a very nice pattern of 3D wooden panels. It's called Chronowall 3D Rusty Barnwood from Chronospan, and it has special claws that you mount on supporting beams every 40 centimeters to keep the panels in place. And you can play around with different models, stack them in 2 or 3 different planes according to your liking. Start with the bottom layer and put a wooden sheet underneath the first panel because you need 1 centimeter from the floor so that air can circulate even on the bottom of the terrarium, and apply the first panel by simply screwing it on. The next layers will stay fixed with the claws, and from there upwards it gets easier. The instructions for mounting the panels are fairly straightforward. You just mount the claws for the first row in one position, and for the second row you just turn them upside down. Repeat the process until you are done. Here is a close-up view of how it should look like, and from the side how the panels are intertwining in order to create this nice 3D effect. It's worth mentioning that these panels are humidity resistant, heat resistant, UV resistant, which makes them an ideal coating for the terrarium and the microclimate inside. You'll also need an electric saw to sometimes cut the panels to the right length. Mounting the panel above the sliding glass doors was the tricky part, since the claws weren't really meant to support a single panel without a second stabilizing row. So I just installed the first layer of claws, and above I bent the claws 90 degrees to just hold the panel in place fixed as I desired. In order to install the passive ventilation grill on the opposite side of the fan, I had to insert a PVC tube to obtain the distance between the wall and the panels that are sticking out. And for the finishing touch, to cover up all those nasty corners, you have the 90-degree angled skirting from the same set. Using the silicone gun, I've applied this strong adhesive from Bostik Mammoth Diamond onto the skirtings and hold them in place with paper tape. I also applied the skirtings on the frame of the windows and the doors to mask the Tegu. Another tricky part was cutting the skirtings just right so that they would fit where the lateral walls would meet the ceiling. And this was achieved by cutting isosceles triangles at the end of the skirting. In order for me to move the terrarium, I always have to dismount the first row of wooden paneling, because I didn't take in account the rotation radius of the corner wheels, and the brakes would stick out and tore apart the paneling if I don't do this before moving the whole thing. This problem would have been fixed if I have moved the wheels a little more inward. I also didn't want the screws from the first wooden paneling layer and the top corners of the terrarium to stick out, and that's why I took a concrete drill bit that has a slightly wider head and just drilled a little hole in it so that the head of the screw fits snugly inside and will be in the same plane with the panel. Nice and smooth. Now that the outside of the terrarium is finished, we can get to decorating the inside. Since our Tegu has big sharp claws, we need to protect the bottom layer and its hydro insulations from scratches. I've opted for a durable double-layered geotextile, and laid it down generously over the entire length of the terrarium and on the sides where the soil level will be. In hindsight, it would have probably been better to coat the entire bottom and the sides with epoxy resin, and I really recommend you do this just to be on the extra safe side. Now it's time to actually begin making the terrarium bioactive. Your Tegu likes digging, it's a part of his daily activities. He likes to do this particularly in the height region, so don't deprive him of that. Choosing the right substrate is extremely important, and don't use chips, coconut fibers and other substitutes. The only thing suitable for a Tegu is topsoil. Make sure your chosen substrate is free of chemicals and pesticides that might put your reptile's life in danger. There have been serious medical cases described in which the animal was harmed because of toxins present in the soil. Topsoil will inevitably come with various eggs and critters inside. So in order to reduce the amount of pests in the topsoil, you might want to consider leaving the bags inside black garbage bags in the sun for a couple months. I did that, and that way I have reduced the amount of fungus gnats, for example, that would come out of the soil to a very low minimum. As you have seen, I have chosen the big 150-liter bags of garden topsoil from Agro called Profimix, and I have added play sand in a ratio of 3 parts topsoil to 1 part sand in the hide region, so that the soil will keep its structure when the Tegu starts digging. I found that this particular substrate is very well at absorbing water and can store a large amount of water, so that will also help with the humidity levels necessary for a lizard. And the same topsoil was used as a substrate in all the plant pockets. You might also want to add a small layer of drainage in the plant pockets using ceramic balls. I ended up using 3 150-liter bags, so that's 450 liters of topsoil. I also had to accommodate the water basin, and it had to be raised a little from the bottom. It sits on 2 stacked spare Tego sheets that I also coated on the sides with rubber-based hydro insulation. Be very careful to place a water tank either on the bottom or on something sturdy and solid that the Tegu can dig through. If you let it sit just on topsoil, the Tegu might dig under the water basin and might get crushed by the weight of it. Now for the fun part, shopping for plants. I went to Hornbach, that has a great selection of inside plants that are also suitable for terrariums. Be very careful when you choose your plants to not get toxic species. There are on the web various lists of dangerous plants to reptiles, so avoid them. And try to choose plants that are suitable to your terrarium's microclimate. So you have to choose plants that can tolerate higher temperatures and humidity in our case. I'm no botanist, I don't really have vast experience with inside plants and terrarium plants, so I pretty much experimented with various species. Some of them withered away and had to be replaced, but most of them ended up thriving in the terrarium. My Mauremis leprosa temporary turtle habitat ended up joining the side of the terrarium. Hanging and creeping plants have a particularly dramatic effect on the looks of your terrarium, and this particular plant in the middle, called String of Hearts, Chiropedia woody, ended up thriving extremely well in the microclimate needed for a tegu. A very nice choice is also Tillandsia usenoides, Spanish moss, that you can simply hang from any cable or directly from the ceiling, but you have to be careful to pulverize and spray it with water from time to time. I also wanted a tree-like plant in the corner of the terrarium, so I inserted a 30 cm pot into the soil to protect it from the tegus digging. And here is the plant, Schefflera arboricola, umbrella tree, which gives an awesome look to that side of the terrarium. A plastic shoe tray enabled me to work on the plants without getting dirty and disturbing the rest of the substrate. It's time to add various organic matter and elements that will provide a naturalistic look, but also serve as food for the critters that will actually make the terrarium bioactive. You can also check out my YouTube short on preparing forage materials for your terrarium, because you need to treat your stuff at least thermally to avoid introducing pests and predators for your cleanup crew in the enclosure. It's also worth planting carnivorous plants in the high humidity areas, because these will keep pests like fungus gnats at a minimum. The dusk view provided by the LED strip is also pretty impressive. As substrate for the steps of the waterfall, I have used volcanic rock from JBL. Using fluorescent acrylic paint, I've also added an Easter egg behind the umbrella tree. According to these ancient cave paintings that are over 4 months old, the tegu is of extraterrestrial origin. Tegu in the local tongue of the natives means great lizard from the stars. Disclaimer: subjective interpretation of local tongue without actual knowledge whatsoever about local tongue. Our ancestors used to revere, bow, and worship the mighty tegus who descended from the stars as gods. In return, the tegus offered early humans better husbandry conditions and trained them in the ways of astronomy, math, biology, architecture, agriculture, and other sciences like interstellar travel. Unfortunately, the tegu's warp drive was discarded as of no use to our ancestors and lost to time because, according to some fragments etched on Aztec pyramids, they kept charring the meat at grill parties. Fast forward to today, and while the ancient tegus might have evolved slightly, becoming less large but not stupider, intermixing their DNA with local reptile fauna along millennia, we still feel a deep respect for this great lizard, an ancestral need to care for it and offer it the best conditions possible with all our money. This nice little piece here is a real skull I found on a field. Dog maybe, or fox, I don't really know. It was picked clean by ants probably. So I only got the skeleton, which is perfect. Even got some molars here. Fortunately, the incisors were missing. But the skull is intact otherwise. I of course cleaned it properly, had multiple baths in peroxide, Gave it a really good rinse, and it's been staying on my shelf for a year now until I finished the terrarium. So let's give it a try and see how it looks. I'm gonna place it here under the hotspot, since I don't expect any plants to really grow here because of the intense heat. Okay. There. Really nice little touch to the whole environment. Furthermore, I decorated the background of the terrarium with various kinds of mosses, both alive and dried out, lichens, and glued them on using Dupla Plant Fix, a safe glue even underwater. I also found these beautiful and expensive bronze handles on Etsy, but I just couldn't refrain from buying them since they would make an excellent piece for the sliding glass doors. Now for the finishing touches, the nice bronze handles I purchased from Etsy, straight out from India. Now I went to the glass shop so that they could cut me a few holes in the doors. I don't have the necessary drills for that. There are special glass drills, and you need some lubricants for it so it doesn't crack. But I don't have the skills and the tools for it, so I rather paid for that. Now that I got the handles, I also used textile protections between the glass and the bronze legs of the lizard, and anchor the sides first. I use some screws. Just make sure they are the appropriate size, that they cover all the thickness of your handle and the door. And slowly screw them in. You don't want to crack your glass, especially now that everything is finished. Now don't screw everything too tight, because you can crack your glass. Just let it loose, screw it loose at the beginning, get everything in place, and after that screw everything a little tighter just by hand, as far as your hand will allow it. So screw, and I have these special plastic protections, as you saw in the picture. They are like a buffer between the metal and the glass, and distribute the forces. Then I use two of them on the other side, and a little piece to screw everything together. Good. Now you can screw it a little tighter. And two more to go. I use the drill to pre-perforate some holes in the textile pad beneath, so it is easier to screw everything on without using force. Everything has to be gentle, no pressure. You don't want to crack your glass. One plastic protection, the other two in the back. Nice. And the last one. When I mounted this decorative wood here, it raised the level a little until it met with the edge of the door, and this door basically slides a little harder until it will erode this margin here. But so I can't really pull too much on this handle since I'm afraid it will crack the glass because a lot more force is needed to open the door. But this door will actually stay most of the time shut, and I can open it by grabbing it somewhere else. So the handle is just for decoration, I guess, for a while. This door, however, is very much functional, and I can easily pull on the handle, slide it open. But you don't want the handle to meet with the other door and crack it open. That's why I have a blocking mechanism here. I basically glued on some textile strips until it met with the other door. And it's simply a physical barrier for the door. On this side, so it closes more smoothly, and on the other side to stop right before the other glass. I think these handles are a really nice touch to the whole ensemble. What do you guys think? I've also glued some strips with dense brushes on the sides to create a nice interface between the sliding doors and the edge of the terrarium, and to prevent dust and soil from spilling out of the terrarium on that end. A door lock is also necessary because your Tegu will learn how to slide open the doors. Mine learned that on day 3. And a classic lock would disrupt the aesthetic view. I have followed the link tutorial to craft a slick looking door lock out of a surgical Kirschner wire that is very sturdy. You basically bend the wire in different planes using a regular plier, and at the tip I have added a heat shrinking tube for wires to make a soft handle. Differently to the tutorial, I have bent the end with the heat shrinking tube upwards and not downwards because the terrarium was in the way. I also decided to give a paint job to the camera since it was completely white and didn't look so good. So I used this color, just black, brown, and some fluorescent glow-in-the-dark paint. And I just painted over it to integrate it better into the environment. I'll just apply some random patterns. Doesn't have to be perfect. I don't know, I find that this glow-in-the-dark paint together with the dark hues kind of make it look like it's been overgrown by lichens, and I really like this pattern. Again, I'm no artist, no painter, I really do this kind of stuff, so I'm sure that some of you guys will get far more better results than I did. But for now I am pleased with what I managed to obtain. Yeah, I think it looks good. I also did some replanting, changed some plants around, put some others. That one there is supposed to smell really good, kind of like jasmine. Gardenia Yasumia or something like that it is called. This one I found really interesting. A succulent plant. Should handle the heat better. Some aloe vera variants. These should tolerate the extreme heat below the hotspot far better. The other plants just withered away since I have around 40 degrees here. And I also introduced another cork hide. This should be enjoyed by the Tegu since it has this side ramification there that's closed. You should enjoy that. Well, I'm pretty much done with the terrarium, only 2 days to go until I get my lizard. I have to drive to get it all the way to Germany, so road trip ahead. And now for the actual bioactive part of the terrarium, creating and introducing a cleanup crew. So I got a neat order today for the finishing touches on my terrarium. Remember, this is a bioactive terrarium. That means that little critters, basically a cleanup crew, will be living together with the Tegu inside the terrarium. So let me show you what I ordered. A neat package from World of Isopods, and you guessed it, the box is full of isopods. Really nice packaging, I have to give them that. So if you want to order your isopods, you can. I strongly recommend them. They're really professional, they know what they are doing, they have very nice information about raising isopods and breeding them for your terrariums, even if you would like to terrarium only with isopods. They sent me these nice little stickers, and I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have any benefits of recommending them, but they are really professional, so just give them a look on their website. Packaging is 5 stars, really well done. And here is the treasure, the little isopods. Armadillium gestroi. So let's see if you can see them. These are the little critters. They resemble the European kind, but they have these nice yellow spots. Some morphs have white spots. I will show them up close to you next. I already purchased a pack of 15 when I went to Ham in the spring and set up a basic colony for the critters, and I will show you how it looks. So this is the already set up Armadillidium colony. You can see the critters here. The reason why I picked the Gestroi species is because they love the tropical conditions in a Tegu terrarium, and they thrive in those conditions, high humidity, high temperatures. But they are also very inquisitive during daylight, during nighttime. Some other species are more secluded, you don't see them more often, but these little creatures don't really give a crap, and you will often see them roaming around. Some springtails. I also have springtail colonies set up to supplement the cleanup crew. So let's dump the cleanup crew in the terrarium, Armadillidium gestroi, springtails, and some earthworms I purchased at the local fishing store. If you want the technical details behind this small colony, I will give you all the details in a future clip. Until then, let's work a little more on the terrarium. It's time to colonize the terrarium with the cleanup crew. So this is what I'm using as a cleanup crew: Armadillidium gestroi, springtails, and earthworms. Everything was previously set up in starter colonies, without any pests, without mites, as to not get them into the terrarium and have serious problems then with all the pests. So I recently ordered another batch of Armadillidium gestroi, as you have seen before. I will place the young ones in the starter colony and take out the adults and pour them into the terrarium. So let's get started. These are the earthworms purchased from a local fishing store. Let's see what they are hiding. You have to get the red ones. These are good for substrate. Just throw them there. Next are the springtails. Get them out. As you can see, they are swarming everywhere. They've multiplied very good and easy, and collecting them is very easy. Just pick up their substrate and gently tap them everywhere in the terrarium. Very easily having hundreds of them swarming around, cleaning organic matter. And finally, the isopods. As you can see, they are quite large, beautifully looking. So let's set them free. right there. The Tegu pickup in Germany got cancelled at the last moment. Fortunately, we have a backup and we're driving all the way to the Netherlands to Quality Reptiles to get our hands on a really special guy. I'm here with reptile enthusiast and veterinary doctor Ziegler Karina.
Hi.
And I'll show you soon what I'm talking about and what all the fuss is about.
Bye.
He's very angry right now. Let me
Okay.
relax a little bit.
So this is the guy. He'll be going home with me.
So, hi.
So great, thank you very much. I recommend every single one of your Quality Reptiles. She's really professional and takes very good care of her animals.
Thank you.
Here is also a view of the wireless IP camera you saw earlier in action. I also want to show you the fogger that you saw earlier in the build and how it looks on the waterfall. In episode 5 we are going to talk about maintenance, we are going to do some minor repairs, upgrades and improvements.